Alrighty. A little bit more work on the Mage. So let me see where I am at here. Alright, so I did Drain Heat Fireball, but I don't think I ever really changed much with the crit. That's crit. So let's just try jacking that up to like 6. And then this one, Empower Burn. Going to change this to a new one. Burn. And we can just copy this. I'm going to make sure the passive is burn. Okay. And we go to kits. Just verify this has Drain Heat Burn. Okay. And we might as well switch up the effect. I mean, technically, I can take the burn spell. Okay, it's all the same. Whatever. Hey, you loading up the server this weekend? Looks like Monday forward. I could play not this weekend. It's next weekend. It's the 28th, so it's like the Thursday. Thursday to Sunday of the end of the month. Alright, so if I do this, this is Empower, Drain, Heat, Burn. And so now, oh, I should have done a test. Okay, so that's a little bit of a problem. So one tick of the dot is using up the Empower. So how do I avoid that? If I want to empower a dot, honestly, I guess I just set it to unlimited. So maybe I change up how. So on the thing, I just do unlimited. And we'd like change up the duration. So the duration will say for like 10 seconds or 20 seconds. And so it'll be a different type of empower, whereas the fireball empower is per hit target, whereas the burn empower is a flat duration. Okay, I need to go up here. Now it's doing more damage. And we'll see when this falls off. So it's actually refreshing itself. Why is it refreshing itself? Oh, that's a different change I did. So I see why that was there in the first place. That's down here. So I had stopped this. Okay, so I might be able to just do this then. Maybe we just skip the refresh. Yeah, there we go. Now it's not refreshing again. And let me double check that the fireball thing is working. So, bringing fireball. Hey, what? Okay. One, let's also improve my temporary effects. So I'm assuming these are all on. So we need a new variable, call it text. Name. Let's see, name, whatever. And then it would be in the, I think, the stat component. Alright, so that's on the user interface. Buff duration stack. Okay, UI information. So it's there. Then this is here. Add to effect bar. Oh, we have it already. Okay, so we just go to setup. We're going to put in a button. Put the color to 0 alpha. That's not right. Okay, so normal is 0. Hovered is like 0.15. And then that's fine. I think we just take the button. I hate when you. I wish you could disable double clicking on nodes too. Maybe that'll work. Alright, if I do this now, it's supposed to hover. Maybe it is set to do I need the Z value up higher? Let's breakpoint. Okay, power fireball. Okay, maybe it's in the root. I think that's what it is. It's probably that. On this one, visible. can confine it to the actual icon too. Helps a little bit. So Power Fireball. So at least tells people when they get something, if I have proper namings and stuff. I can do this a little bit on this as well. That's not what I wanted. Okay, Fireball. Oh, I did have that already. Never mind. Power Fireball. I could do the whole proper tooltip thing. Maybe I do that. Sure, let's do it. Okay. Okay. This also gets into a bit of a rework. So what I can do, I think, if I go all the way back to here, what I can do is, so this is struct stat user interface. We'll say action data user interface. Is that the right one? Stat change. User data. Okay. And this guy will be instance editable, expose on spawn. So I changed it to listen server, run under one process and run in Pi. Test map booting up fast now. Cool. Yeah, so I don't even do listen server, I do client type thing. But I think you were saying, were you the one that's saying you run in? No, that was Umbra that runs in Linux, right? But yeah, like it's just one of those things that like my the main worlds I created, every single foliage is a replicated dormant actor. And so and then, you know, I have to have AI turned on and off. Sometimes you have that's another like workflow thing where um you want to have a development environment that hopefully doesn't stretch too far from your shipping process, right? If you're not doing what we're doing and shipping to people, it doesn't really matter. But for me, you've probably seen me talk about it before, but I have a big packaging step um, every time I package something, and so I have to, make sure all my development environment stuff is all turned back to normal. And so by working in a test level, you can reduce the amount of things that are like swapped out and changed for testing in a while you're developing. I run it on my Windows to test, but I have the checkbox for run separate server. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think that was like one of these settings, right? Was it project launcher? No. Advanced. It's like something here or something. Launch separate server, yeah. So these are my settings. I think these are default. I don't think I've messed with these in ages. Play as client. So yeah. Yeah, tooltips are king. This is a rarely used option that will launch a separate server. Um, I know this what this is meant for is trying to have better, and it even says it kind of here, but um, if you launch a separate server, the point of it is every client that loads up is basically not connected to the server at first, and then you can manually, have them connect to the server, and so you're testing your workflow of actually having clients connect to a server and that type of thing. And so that's the core purpose of it. Whereas, sometimes if you do this, if you had multiple things open, you hit X, it closes them all and things. And so, but yeah, if you ever need to test your workflow, and for me, because I use PlayFab, and I use typically connecting to dedicated servers. When I'm ready to QA my build, that's when I package out a dedicated server, then package out a client build, and test with actual packaged client server type stuff. Because once you get it all like seemingly working in just, client plan editor, once you think it all works there, then you test with the packaged client server. Then you figure out if it's working there, and then you ship to PlayFab. And believe it or not, sometimes things go wrong in the PlayFab environment. I think I was doing that because of multi-thread crash issues, but everything seems fine right now. Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure, isn't like most of Unreal not multi-thread? It's like single-threaded. I know that the dedicated servers, I'm pretty sure, are single-threaded. At least in multiplayer. that's like another problem Ashes of Creation was trying to do, right? They're not only are they trying to do the network mesh infrastructure they'd had to do, they were also trying to solve multi-threaded networking, which Epic themselves, as a technology company, said no. In Unreal 4, we're not going to try and solve that, and so everything was like single-threaded. I don't know the full details of all that, but it's just what I remember. I know multiplayer replication multi-threading is something top engineers like haven't fully solved. All right, so I need to clean up this. So we need that one. We don't need stats right now. We don't need the widget. We don't need in combat. I'm gonna close these out. And so now this should, I'll do this, file save, expose. And so now this is just being passed here. Okay, I put the wrong action data, stat change. Stat change. All right, and so we have UI, name, all this stuff. I'm trying to understand why I'm even doing this right now. Oh, I suppose it's more of a future change thing, but whatever. So we go to setup. And so we can actually now take this. We have the icon. All right, and then name. And what now? Gotta go to the other names. I'm just doing a little bit of code cleanup. That I kind of see. place for. This I don't need because I'm doing this differently now. All right, let's make sure this works. Power fireball. All the stuff is still set. Power burn. Okay. How did that one still have? Wait, what? So why is the tooltip still showing? That's the one. Okay, there we go. So this is where I get into the idea. This is just a random off, like, polish thing I've been thinking about doing for a while. I might start it randomly now because it's going to be a better workflow in the future. And slowly bring it over. I guess I can't slowly bring it over. I want to create a separate data table for all UI facing things for, because the issue I have is if I have like an ability that has like a debuff or a buff or empower, I'm having to reset the same UI kind of settings in each one. The border color, the icon, and the background, and the colors for those, the name and the description. And so instead of having it in the same, multiple times, I could consolidate them all into like a single. So each different file points to a single database or data table. So that's my idea, but I'm going to have to push that off, because by doing so, I have to go all in when I do it, otherwise it's useless. And I don't have the time to do that, because I have to go through every character's abilities and touch them up with different icon files. It's just a matter of it's a certain level of polish, I guess technically. God, I don't know. I need to focus on the mage. Finish the mage. Finish the classes. It's not important. Stay focused. Yeah, so like if I have my fireball, or I will say, what's a good example? I guess drain heat's example, right? So drain heat, this is the ability itself, right? And all the instructions for the ability. And the ability, this is like what you see on your action bar. So you see the name, the description, the the borders, the icon, and the background stuff. But then you have the stat changes for that ability. And so in this case, drain heat, this is all the stat changes. This is a single, I should say, this is a single stat change for this. And if you want multiple, you add, multiple stat changes here. But it's a single stat change. And then within that, what I normally do is just copy this data here. The obvious problem is there's a little bit, because this is for an action bar and this is for like a buff bar, there's a few things I don't actually want replicated. So I can consolidate all of this into a data table, and it would basically add description as well, and so they would both pull from the same data table. So I would just have one additional data table for each ability. That's the so-called like player-facing data and information, which is name, description, and icon. And that makes it a lot easier to. I'd have to wonder if I could. Yeah. Well, it's not less data replicated, because this is all. It's more. It's like it'd probably be, if it's any type of optimization, it'd be a slight and very slight like memory optimization thing. It's more the workflow, and you just set up an icon thing once, and then if you ever need to use that again for whatever reason, you have it available. And sometimes, and I could even put in that thing, like there could be additional data where it links the actual data table. So sometimes you want like a lightweight thing to reference, and the perfect example of that is in trade skills. And I always wondered why this happened in WoW, because it always bugged me. But in WoW, like you go to your crafting stuff, right? And you could see it kind of pause and load stuff in, right? And then whenever you click on something, you'd almost get like a stutter. And that's because they're always async loading the data for those type of things. Because if you go open this giant list of stuff, you don't want to load in because there's like, potentially tens or hundreds of recipes. You don't want to load all of the items and images and, potential other, things that you have there. You don't want to load an entire, recipe book or trade skill into memory. You only want, so this is like a shorthand type thing of the seared steak and stuff. We're not loading the whole thing yet, but then you click on it and then it loads the icons and stuff. And in my case, it's like this is very lightweight and stuff, not a big deal. But if you ever had something a bit more, and so right now it's not a big deal, but in the future, I'm probably going to have like a whole window for modifying like your whole like spell book where you like socket in different abilities and stuff, and that system could actually use the shorthand of each ability with that user interface thing. Plus, and then again, it goes back to it's mostly a workflow thing, and then whenever you want to put it in a like workflow thing for like localization, right? It's a single source file for that thing. And you can always, in my system, I have it so the reason I have the option to have different icons, right? And different things because you can I wanted to have the option of, hey, this ability gives you 3 stats, but maybe 2 of those stats are on like this element and this other one is on a different element. And you can purge either the 2 or the 1 separately if you needed to, Crit icons when, I know. All right, so I got Empower Fireball working. And so let's see this in action. So Bombard. And we are currently at 2 stacks, hitting for -6. And now I do Empower Burn. And now it's 19. So it doubled the damage on that, or wait, tripled the damage pretty much. And you also have to think about, I'm thinking of like, I'm using this in Ruins of Tearyn, and I'm thinking, how do I improve vertical third as well for better workflow through that? For a while there, I didn't like. Another reason why I didn't separate these out was I was a little bit afraid of having file clutter, and we already, because vertical third's already super. There's so many data tables, right? I was like, is it getting to a point where there's just too many data tables? But at this stage, I've kind of, I think it works just fine, even. And the future fix for that is to make my own custom search kind of editor, which you can do through editor utility widgets. Like I have this thing here. That's just like a simple, select all stuff, but I could make my own search folder for different data tables, and that alone would it basically scans your entire project for data tables, and then you could have checkboxes of data table struct types. you know, and then you could have folder excludes. Like I could exclude my entire, you know, vertical third folder, so none of the default stuff gets interfered with it, and then potentially, you know, custom options as well for names and stuff. And so um, I could have a search thing that's okay. I want data tables that are only stat change structs, you know, that type of thing. Um, and that would make it a lot easier to open files and whatnot. And find what you need. So yeah, it's just like a random rant on like, okay, I see this is how it's set up in vertical third, and I kind of seeing areas to improve it. And that goes to back to show of the way I did this in the UI component was just a little bit weird when I can consolidate a lot of it. So before I had, so this is like creating the buff widget, and I broke out this struct and basically individually put these on the on spawn when I could just literally do this, make just this the variable that's on spawn and pass the entire data information through, and then it's just a lot cleaner. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to change the duration of the burn one to about 10 seconds. Because the idea here is you load up your dots. I'll do the base as 10 seconds, and then the maybe the crit one is 20 seconds. I don't even know if the durations thing does anything. So 3 times the damage is a little bit much. So I'm going to go down to, let's see if the 1 times is applying double damage or if it's keeping it the same. So 6, 10, okay. And then we'll do the crit version. Alright, so it's digging for, I'm going to refresh it. That's wrong. Why did I do that? one's up there. But so 46, 135, 135. Let's do like 1.5, but it lasts longer. The kids might need a pickup soon. Call them, okay? Are you going out or? Oh, okay. No. I just thought you were going out. That's all. They're at Meadows. Yeah, they said they might get a ride home. I'm gonna call them and try and get them now. All right. Okay, so yeah, we're doing that thing. Damage. 1. And so on these ones, I don't think we need stacks either. No stacks. All right, let's try this again. All right, I still have a problem with the UI stuff. All right, I'll be RB. Let's go grab my kids. Hello. Sorry, I was okay. Had to grab my kiddos. How are you doing, Wazoo? Walzooks? Okay. Um, I need to refresh what I was doing. I'm still fixing a bug that was caused by a recent change. Is it this one? It's recast. So if the duration So what I need here, I think, is just this. So this comes here, and we update the stacks, I think, is what I need. Hello, hello. All right. So we're gonna apply some stacks. And so now we're at 10. So now we do that. So now it's 20. It's left there your desktop. Yeah. Okay. So now we get the crit. So it's ticking for 11. 46. So that's 57. 57. I think. Alright, I also need to test the stacking of this fireball thing. Alright, so we have one stack of Empower Fireball. Throw it off. Boom, it's gone. And then damage is back to normal. And then now we drain heat twice. The stacks go up properly. Fireball. Hits. Stack changes. Hits. Stack's gone. Can I see the progression of your game? The entire progression. The entire progression. The beginning of the end. So one, if you want to experience it, you can actually go and you can play it at the end of the month. So that's one thing to shout out. We're doing we do testing every month, and so the last weekend of the month, which in this case is we're going to start the Thursday, so the 28th to the 31st. I'll briefly talk about the combat system. So we have 3 core systems right now that make Ruins of Tearyn. And the first one is our action combat system. Our first philosophy is we want slow-paced combat, which allows you to kind of like think ahead and plan and strategize. It's more of a we don't want you to button mash abilities. We want you to think about your abilities and use them at the right time, in the right moment, with the right positioning, that type of thing. And so I kind of it's a throwback to like back in the day, StarCraft and RTS games were always like the high APM or actions per minute games, and it feels like modern day MMOs are basically just as bad. Like you're pushing buttons so much during combat, you don't have any time to do anything else, which to me, it takes away the social aspect. You want to be able to talk and you want to be able to fight stuff, but still talk while you fight stuff. So slow-paced combat and no AoE grinding. We don't want AoE grinding to become a meta in any type of way. And so if you pull like 5 monsters, you're going to be trying to crowd control like 4 of them and kill them one at a time. On that, we have our rotation ruin system. And so you can see on the bottom of my feet here, there's ruins rotating around. And so at the bottom of your bar, you have 8 abilities. But they change based on how many ruins you have. And then if you see here, my ruins turned red. There's no chance for critical strike. You just have critical abilities. And so I am new at Unreal Engine, and I feel it's a bit complicated, especially my English is very bad. Well, if you're interested, this is a course I did. Courses 5 through 8. Are the ones I did. Epic Games paid me for that, to do that. And it's a beginner course. It's intended to have no experience in game development at all. And there's a few other creators that did the courses 1 through 4 that are good to go through as well. But our courses 5 through 8 are also kind of like all-inclusive. You start a project, you finish with a lot of different game mechanics. So we actually end you prototyping 6 different game modes: story, action combat, stealth survival, puzzle, crafting, and platformer. I think that's all of them. Oh, capture the flag too. And so if you're interested in game development, I highly suggest, or Unreal Engine specifically. But it's also like is game theory there too. There's game design theory in that course too. So if you're interested in a little bit of everything, I really suggest you take that course. And I don't get any kickbacks or anything for the course. So, but yeah, so we have our action combat system. So you have 8 abilities at the bottom, but there's potential for 48, or 8 buttons at the bottom as your core combat stuff. But there's potential to have 48 abilities. And so as your stuff goes around, so like we have a fireball here, that's a critical, kind of shows us a crit. It's a big fireball. But then if we go to, and you rotate through it, different classes rotate their ruins differently. But a lot of them right now are on the auto attack. So as you auto attack, your abilities change. So the R1 fireball, you can see is kind of orange or whatever. The R2 fireball, does a little bit more damage, but changes the effect. And then the R3 fireball is kind of this big giga explosion type thing. And just boom, so, and then it applies a dot and stuff. So, well, rather the mage in this situation has a passive that's a crit. And because it's a critical ability, it applies the crit burn passive. And so that's a little bit, that's like the light version of the combat system. Then we have the Registry of Chronicles, and so this is our merging the achievement system and the quest systems together. So instead of going to a quest hub and getting a bunch of quests, you just go kill 10 bears and you can get rewards for killing 10 bears type thing. And it scales up as you kill more. Right now it's only experience, but in the future it'll be like abilities, equipment, spells. I always reference the, like, if you're a cleric, you could kill 100 undead, and you get Smite Undead as an ability. And then that goes into our camp system, and our kind of core, gameplay loop is going to these different camps, sitting around, talking with friends, killing monsters, getting experience, and getting fat loots by killing a bunch of named monsters and stuff to prepare your character for different builds and things like that. And right now, all these monsters are level 10 to 14, but we actually have a crafting system called Metamorphosis that allows you to collect essence from each of the monsters and upgrade the camps to higher levels. And so if you're level 15, probably a 10 to 14 camp, you could use 5 crystals, and now it's a 15 to 19 camp. There's better loot, more experience, and bosses will spawn stronger with enhanced loot drops as well. And so those are the kind of like core features of the game right now. And I can give you a quick look over at the main level. So this is the main world. So this is the newbie yard, which we made about a month, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So you start out here, you spawn here. General idea here is you get a feel for the movement. Within the first 5 minutes, we want you to understand how the character movement feels, and then how the combat system works. So there's target dummies here, and there's NPCs kind of showing off tooltips. In the future, this is kind of got a prefab little castle from Cinti Studios, but I want this to be expanded kind of castle, and people can go explore, find like little lore books and stuff, and get experience that way for the people that like that type of thing. Then you come out here, and you gotta get that kind of like big, cool scene, point of interest. Again, this is kind of a point of interest to kind of like naturally teach people about exploration. There's some survivalist tooltips here, like you can build campfires to help you and stuff. Then you come out here, you kill a bunch of animals to get your first couple levels, and you go straight into, you can team up with people to go kill monsters at the camps. And so there's like a goblin camp there, a spider camp, a bandit camp, an undead camp, an orc camp, and then in here is like a ghost camp or whatever. Then you have over here, you have like your crafting town with all your crafting stations. So you have to get your loot and then come to the crafting stations. Then once you kind of finish this area kind of caps off around like levels 10. You can obviously stay there longer with the whole camp upgrade system to get the loot you want, but you get your fast travel from an NPC right here. And that fast travel brings you all the way over here into this main world. And this is the map that I showed earlier. So you get to travel to this kind of like tavern right here, and you can kind of pick and choose where you want to kind of camp and get experience, and kind of start the grind of killing monsters and boss for different pieces of loot. And then if you finish all that, this takes you to around like levels 15 or so. You can come down here. There's a group boss. So this boss is a Scagente. He's is intended to have 6 people to kill him. And then you can click through this door to zone into the dungeon, which actually has a dragon raid. And so that dragon raid will take around 20 people or more. We haven't even had a chance to really test it or tune it, so I don't know how many people it's going to take right now. Your brain, a little confused, yeah. It's trying to explain your MMO to someone. It's very hard, okay? Because MMOs are an experience. They're not just, a few game mechanics mashed together, There is no such thing as an elevator pitch for an MMO, No matter what you dwindle it down to, it'll never encapsulate what the MMO is. Hello, Ding. How are you today? Nice to see you again. And so it's one of those things that we're pushing through. And I'm going to do a video soon to break it down. I had to go through that. I've probably said that explanation 40 times at this point. And it's like 10 minutes per. It always takes 5 to 10 minutes to go through it all. It's like that's my elevator pitch. 5 to 10 minutes of an elevator pitch. And it still is like a little bit mysterious. Of again, MMOs are experience. All right, I am doing this. So 2 stacks, dealing 6 damage, and now it's dealing. Is this fireball? Okay, wrong one. Fireball 6, 10. 10. Okay. So now we do that. Still doing 10. And I did the wrong power. Oh. Why is it doing that? I think I had the wrong power on. Database. Crit R2. That's weird. What am I missing here? Alright, bombard. So we're dealing 8 damage. Now it's 18 damage. Did I just not change the name? Is that what it is? Okay, empower, burn. And I probably forgot to do. That's fine. We'll do that. Oh. Alright, that seems normal. Hello, King Ding. How you doing? Oh. Not too bad. Just chipping away at this mage. Had a little couple bugs to fix. Did just some very tiny enhancements to my buff stuff. I didn't have tooltips and stuff when you hovered over the buffs. So I did a few little modifications there. So now if I do Drain Heat, I can see it's Empower Fireball. And then if I did second one, R2 on Drain Heat is Burn. So now I have Empower Burn. And so now I could get a crit. Well, Empower Burn is meant to be something you cast after you have stacks. So I can do R2 crit. So now I have 8 stacks of burn. And then that's when I would do my Empower Burn. So I'm ticking for 37. Empower Burn. Apparently it didn't work. Maybe I didn't, okay. I'm the spirits. Am I streaming on different software? I'm just using OBS for streaming. There are spirits, and I liked it. I remember the spirits from game. Was it Games of War or God of War? I'm interested in Greek, so I don't have a lot of like lore and stuff figured out yet. Whoa. weird. My um yeah, my firewall came to life. My fire alarm triggered for 1 little second and then stopped. Uh and so I thought like a candle was hitting something, but there was nothing was going on. It was just like normal. So we have like a security system that if a fire alarm goes off, it will automatically like notify the fire department and stuff. And so I have to get to the phone quickly and like disarm it very fast. Otherwise, the fire alarm in the department will show up, and you can get charged for that. But it triggered once and then just stopped on its own, which is kind of rare. I didn't have to turn it off or anything. But there was no candles anywhere. There was nothing on. There was nothing burning. There's no burn smell. There's no smoke. Checked around the house. Checked the garage. Checked upstairs. Maybe I need to stop my stream. All this playing with fire. um. Yeah, very strange. I did 15 there. 15. Okay, it's still going. That's weird. So did the... Yeah, that was very strange. Is it not being removed for some reason? What do I need to do? Empower. Oh, okay. So this did not ever get... Oh, I see. Um, so this is saying it's unlimited. So if it's unlimited, we never set it to remove here, which never triggers this. So what we actually need is another check. And this is why we do the end duration stuff. So we're going to get this all the way over here. We're going to break. Oh yeah, one thing I found kind of essential for blueprints is a plugin like Electric Nodes. Makes the graphs much less messy. Yeah, most of my stuff is really clean. Because I modify a bunch of things for Ruins of Tearyn, I'm not really at that cleanup stage because I'm kind of like moving things around. I'm not sure if it's going to be 100% stay that way. But a lot of my code is actually pretty clean. All right, so the duration, we'll get game time in seconds. And we're going to, do I have the, Do I have the thing I need for this? That's the empower. Well, that's annoying. Um, where is the empower thing? I suppose I could just add a game time in seconds. Yeah, I think that's what I have to do to make this a little bit easier. So, just to explain what I'm doing. Oh, I got AFK 1 second. Alright, I am back. I need to do a quick mod to empower here. This is sort of temporary. I'll figure out how to do this better later on, but application time. So how my empowers work is normally they have a stack, and so you get 3 stacks. So you cast Empower, you get a single stack of Improved Fireball, and then you cast, maybe cast another one, you get another stack, and so it's then when you cast Fireball and it hits, it applies the Fireball damage, and it removes a stack of Fireball, empowered Fireball. But then for burns, you want it to last the full duration of the damage over time. You don't want it to, so it's kind of a little bit different, and I'm trying to fix a little bit of code with that. Alright, and now back to the stack component. Alright, so now we go get Empower. And we can do game time in seconds minus the application time. And if this is greater, or I could just do duration. Or was it? Yeah, so game time in seconds minus the application time will give us a value of how much time's elapsed. And then if this is greater than the duration, we set it to remove. So I think this is what's goofing me a bit. Messy was a poor choice of words. I found straight lines to be less mental overhead with big graphics. Can I shoot you a quick PM? So yeah, I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about. I've seen a lot of those things before. It just automatically straightens lines and things. I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, so it's ticking for 10 now. 10. Now it's done to 6 again. So it looked like it was a little bit off though, time-wise. Okay, let's double check my math here. Maybe greater than or equal. unprove it. Oh, no, it's, I did this wrong maybe. This is greater than or equal to this. I think I was doing the wrong check. Ten, 10, 6, so it's, okay, one I need to do, take this off. Alright, so we have 3 stacks, hitting for 8. $15. Huh. Alright, the last one doesn't come through because it passes. Okay, so the buff just falls off a little early, I think, is all it is. Okay. The buff is falling off slightly early, but it's whatever, I think. Yeah, I mean, that works. I think that's fine. All right. Bur- um. All right. So I think Empower is good. On I have a Power Fireball and a Power. Let me make sure a Power Ignite is named properly. Ignite. Let me change up some of the icons, I think, here. I'm just going to screenshot this to remember what's what. All right, so R needs to be a different, Drain Heat needs to be a different icon. Oh, I like the hand. I think that kind of fits. And then for the stat change, the icon for Fireball is going to be the actual Fireball, which is this guy. I'll do a slight coloration on the icon. And then Drain Heat. Only is. Burn is going to be this guy, because this is the original passive thing, so that's proper. And we'll do this slight tint. And then one is Ignite, which will change to a different icon. I think the staff is kind of cool. And once again, we go to Yeah, so this is again just the hand. And then this one is going to be the staff to kind of resemble the correct ability. Alright, so the stage 1, drinking fireball, and so now they match. So fireball, fireball. So it's a little bit intuitive of what it's applying to. And then R2 is drinking burn, and then you can kind of see it's applying to the burn spell, or the burn passive. And then R3 is drinking ignite, which again corresponds to this spell. And now we go to ignite itself. All right, and then stat changes. I don't think I need that there, right? I need it down the empower. No, this is the actual ignite spell.
have Bombard needs a different icon too. That's not Bombard. All right. Losing a bit of esteem. Let's see here. Might need to take a break. Some coffee or something. I do have my energy water here. I'm trying to just get a couple things done at least. I'd love to have at least implement the design of everything and call it a night for this. Alright, so let's try a... We'll do a individual ignite, who's currently doing 31 damage with no stacks. That's probably too much. 2 stacks is now doing 57 damage. Let's lower that a little bit. So let's go to 10. I should also need to make sure that, what is my character level? I need to make sure I'm not seeing too much of a level difference bonus. Level 10. I think these are actually level 5. They're level 5. Okay, so let's put these to 10 for now. Otherwise, it's not too accurate. So now we do an ignite. It does 15 damage. And you're never supposed to use it with no stacks on it, right? So let's do 2 stacks. And now it turns it into 26 damage. So that seems a little bit low. Let me try it more. So 18 stacks, ignite, 185. That actually is pretty on point, I think. 185 is a big hit. And these ones are supposed to be guaranteed hit. And what else? So now we need to adjust. Let me close all these out. So ignite. We're going to take all the stat changes. So R1 is 10 to 15. R1 crit will be 20 to 25. R2 will be 30 to 35. R2 crit. Actually, technically, we don't need to change the value at all on the crits. Because they're going to actually crit. R2 is 20 to 25. R3 will do 30 to 35. Ten to 15, 20 to 25, 30 to 35. We got about, what, 6 stacks? Throw up the R2 Ignite. Boom, 126. Stack it really high now. Oops. All right, 16. Now we do Ignite. 168. Let's try the crits now. Now that's not applying the right amount of stacks, I don't think. I think it's honestly, it's good. I don't need to change anything with it. It works, and like number balancing stuff I can figure out later. Yeah. There is a Chinese guy speaking in the session I am existing in. And what? In like a tutorial or a course? What? Alright, so shift is done. in GTA Online. I do not understand Chinese. Not a single word. Maybe share, or like thank you, I think. Um, Fireball is good. I think Drain Heat is fine now. So we have Drain Heat and Fireball. And then let's get the, we'll do Drain Heat again here. And then we're going to do a crit Drain Heat to see the difference. Oop, I think I casted the wrong one. Power. I need to check the gate. 1 second. Be right back. All right, I'm back. I forget what I was checking. All right, I'm just making sure all these things work. Okay, so let me double check the stacks on Bombard. So this should give 2 stacks. Correct. This should give 3, I think. 3. And this is 4. Okay, well, there's a resist. Okay, that's probably what I'm not counting for. So 3. And now let's hit the crits. So this is another 3. And then because it crits and they apply stack, it's 6. And now it's 2, which is 10. Or maybe it's 4, maybe it's 8. Was it 4 projectiles? Maybe I got a resist, I don't know. Let me try and count this. Okay, it's 4. Okay, 8's correct. And then there was resists, so whatever. And then this should be 10. 10, okay. Yeah, so that works. Ignite, boom, 110. And then now we can do not ignite. Do another bombard. That's 8 stacks, 4 stacks. And then drain heat, ignite. And ignite. 367. It didn't crit though. Why wasn't it a crit? Oh, because it wasn't a crit spell. That's fine. Let me verify. All right. That's 8 stacks. And then we do an R3 drain heat, which drain heats ignite. And then we cast ignite. 369. Yeah, so that's fine. And then do that again. Let's get a crit. $1,200 damage. Damn. Okay. That might be a touch much. I mean, I can technically put a 30-second cooldown on Ignite or something, so it's meant to be an execute ability anyways. And so you have a lot of cost to... if I need to nerf it, I'll nerf it. But it's working. You can't just walk up and do 1,200 damage. You have to preemptively first stack it, then get a crit for the Empower Ignite, and then get a Empower ignite as well. So there's a lot of preparation for that to actually trigger. And Fireball I know already works. So all of these abilities design-wise are complete, I believe. And then what do I have for the drain heat? Excuse me. The differences. What do I have set with these? So this is normal. Damage is 3. Damage is 6. Okay. The base here on the Empower is 1. Over here, the Empower is 2. Here we have the Empower is 3 and 3. So let's do 3 and 6, I guess. We'll try it. And then the Empower Ignite. Maybe we only have alright, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. And some of the other offsets here is Drain Heat specifically is intentionally a non-damage spell. And that's the whole thing of you're kind of preparing yourself to have a big kind of nuke happen. And while you're preparing yourself, you're not dealing much threat as you build up your kind of kit to obliterate with a big combo or something. And yeah, so all of those are done. The only thing I have left on the AoE, I think there's a couple of things I need to adjust on the AoE. What now? All right, so I'm going to just try and get these in. That's very quick. So first up, we're just going to go to the cleric and do holy degradation, and we're going to do Fire degradation. Do that, I guess. I think that's most of everything I need to do for this. I don't think I need to do much else. Alright, and we go to kit, and a little bit of late progression. This will be 7. And it's going to be on this one. Okay. Just make sure it works. And so we throw our R1 fireball. Does 12. We have fire degradation. Resist spell. Oh, R1 spell. Now does resist. Nice. There might be too much variance, so let's just do. Oh, also, I do need to make sure all my spells are fire damage. Let's go to fire. Let's go to fireball. All right, and then in the stack component, did I do all the other resists? I did. Okay. Let's go ahead and I guess check this up to like 3. Wait, that's the wrong one. All right, R1 fireball, 11 damage. Okay, that's not working. Why is it not working? it's showing as 0. Alright, I think I need to just take it on a chill pill. I'm gonna take a break. But the Mage design of everything is almost done. Once I figure out why that's not working, then I do a fire shield, fire damage shield that they can cast on people. This will probably change to something else. The area effect spells, I'm going to keep the current one we have, the R3 version of it, as a rank 2 or rank 3 of it. Then I'm going to have a area effect spell that's a very small radius, kind of intended for like a single target burn on the ground, but it requires the target to be stationary to be useful. And the AoE stuff is going to take quite a bit of mana to use. And then I'll have one other something for AoE. Again, AoE is going to be very specific use cases to use. So I'm not giving them too many spells, but give them something. And then the last ability is mostly just like weird cooldowns. Like this thing here is probably going to be put here as a damage burst thing. Like that. But I like the idea of damage, just fire damage shield. I like the idea. group. And yeah, I think I'm done. Thank you for watching. I'll be around.